Hello and welcome to yet another Neuro Pride and Banks interview. And today Ash is here to talk to us about a survey they did in relation to ADHD and medication as part of our ADHD Day celebrations. Ash is an international best-selling author of books such as Going Official, Getting an ADHD Diagnosis, and their newest work, Facets of Neurodivergence, which is a very interesting, at times very infuriating book about various, obviously, facets of neurodivergence and our lived experience. So, Ash, yes. Why did you decide to do this survey on ADHD medication?
Because as per all my previous projects, I got really annoyed about something. And the thing I got really annoyed about this time is that it's become quite popular. It's a joke, and I know it's an in-joke, and I know it's funny, but it's very popular in ADHD circles at the moment to say, oh, you got all this issue, all these ADHD traits that impact your life, and they just tell you to do legal meds. And there are a few problems with that. First of all, there's already a lot of stigma around ADHD, specifically because ADHDers do get help. A lot of us benefit from taking stimulants. So there is a lot of issues that people concerned that, sorry, I'm looking at my notes to stay on track, and it's not helping because I keep clicking the wrong button, but there you go. So there's literally, there are parents that will not have their kids diagnosed because they don't want the kids to be on meds. There are adults that don't want to be diagnosed because they don't want to be on the meds. It's a mess. So having ADHDers and ADHD advocates referring to medication that works, that has got relatively limited side effects, and that benefits so many people as legal meds is not what we need. So, and
like you say, it plays into the gatekeeping then from medical professionals who it's extraordinarily difficult. It's extraordinarily difficult in Ireland. I can't speak for the UK, but it's extraordinarily difficult in Ireland for adults to at first even access diagnosis, but then when they do to access medication, it is very, very difficult.
Oh, no, it isn't actually. I have it. When I put the survey up, one of the comments was that, hang on, doctors are handing out meds like clowns at a kid's party.
I don't know.
And which is like, it's, there's people that believe that people fake ADHD, which not being funny, but if anybody can fake ADHD, give them the meds, they deserve them. ADHD is it's exhausting. Like if you got the wherewithal to actually pretend consistently to have it, to be an ADHDer so you can get med, you deserve it more than I do, mate. So I'm tiring myself out, and I don't have to fake it. There's a thing that they're overprescribed to young children. So all these tiny tots, think of the children who are like zonked out on all these prescriptions before their brains have had a chance to develop. There is a thing that they don't really work because if you stop taking them, they stop working. By which criteria, which meds do actually work? Because like you stop taking aspirin, it stops working. You stop taking your blood pressure medication, your insulin.
That's exactly it. Like Dr. Russell Barkley, who I have to be honest, whose presentation style I'm not a fan of, but he is an expert in this field. And I remember seeing a conference that he was doing with professionals, with psychiatrists and stuff like that. And he was saying, ADHD medication is the most effective medication for what it is supposed to do that they have. It is more effective than antidepressants for depression. It's more effective than anti-anxiety medications. And he said, and we are literally stopping people getting it because of gatekeeping.
And a lot of it is that people think, because stimulants are used as a recreational drugs and they are addictive, they are admitted. Although we need to unpack that, and I do want to unpack what addiction actually means, because it's a very loaded term. But because stimulants are used as recreational drugs, people think, oh, we're all having such fun time. And if you talk to like more than no ADHD on meds, it's not the same. The whole point of giving us the meds. It's not that we run around all, being hyper, because we already do that. It's got a completely different effect on our brains, because our brain chemistry is different.
Do you know what?
So
that's what's so funny, because literally with ADHD, you could use this as a diagnostic thing, because if you give an ADHD or a stimulant drug, and different parts of our brain light up.
And it's like, I'm sorry, like the thing that does for me is like, I see a piece of laundry and I fold it. Nobody gets addictive to the feeling that you can fold the laundry. It just doesn't work like that. But when it's the sort of the reward seeking behavior thing that you get when you're taking something that gives you a high, just doesn't work. And also, meds and amphetamines. Meds is short for methamphetamine. Amphetamines and methamphetamines, they're related compounds. They're not the same. Meds are infinitely more. It's one of the most addictive substances on the planet. It's got a completely different and much more pervasive effect on your brain. It's got all sorts of really bad side effects. It can cause, I've got a list actually, it's really fun stuff: dental decay, premature skin aging, not that, in the great context of things that matters, liver failure, psychosis, cognitive problems, cardiac arrest. It's just completely different. So when you talk about a drug that's addictive, people think of, in the olden days, like, you think of heroin or something, you don't think of like blood pressure meds or insulin, because we don't use that kind of language for that kind of medication.
The stigma is huge.
And we don't use it for a very good reason. I mean, and there's also, like, when we talk about addiction, are we talking about whether you need them to function? Because then, insulin, blood pressure meds, if you take people off them who need them, they will stop being able to function. So does that mean that they're addicts? We don't use that word, doesn't mean that if you take it for long periods, you develop tolerance and then you need higher doses. Well, okay, but the same is true, apart from the fact that washout periods, med holidays are a thing. We can do the same about pain meds. We don't stop giving people, blood pressure medication. There's all sorts of treatments that, you will develop tolerance, and then you will have to work out what to do not to do that.
Yeah, and to change your meds and change the doses and everything. This is the thing.
Does addiction mean that if you stop taking them suddenly, you will have a bad reaction? Again, there's a lot of meds that you can't just stop taking. A lot of meds and influence, have an effect on the brain. You can't, if you go cold turkey, you will suffer. But all like everyday meds, like, again, your blood pressure meds, if you stop taking it, if you miss the doses, you will be very sick.
Yeah.
Don't talk about addiction. Like detox and withdrawal are a thing for a lot of medication, and we don't call them addictive. Or people think of addiction, they think of somebody who's craving this stuff. Well, they're thinking of nothing but. And if you talk to ADHDers, that's not that's not the situation.
People wouldn't keep on forgetting them if they were so addictive.
Like, I don't know anybody who was like, growing up, who was on heroin that went, oh my God, it's Friday and I
forgot to take it. Yeah.
I forgot my fix since Monday. Oh my, I'm going to be really bad. Most ADHDers I know have got a drawer at home full of meds that they haven't taken because they missed this, but you can't tell your doctor you skipped the dose because you forgot, because then you can't get the next, if you're an addict, you don't forget.
Yeah, exactly it.
Aha.
I'm back.
You're back. So because basically I know that fat people can get meds because they're told that they only want to use them as diet aids. I know that poor people can get meds because they are told that they want to sell them or use them recreation. I know that if you have a problem because you self-medicated in the past, which is something that people do when they have access to the right meds, you can get. But I know that people forget them. I know that people don't like taking them. I know that people like to take less. I know that people resent having to take them, but I didn't have any numbers on it. So I did the survey, which we got in a week, we got just under 500 respondents, 498 at the last count. It's now closed, which can I be terribly petty? Because 498, you know, the groundbreaking study that connected autism and vax.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
That one that got
that
full
charmer.
sense.
Yeah.
That one. That one at 12 participants. 12. We got 498 in a week. Sorry, I have to do this every time. So I mean, it's not the biggest study ever, but you know, it's just literally it's the information you get if you just ask people, because you're not being funny, but ADHD, we don't tend to shut up about, you know, we don't tend to show up, but
hey, it's funny because it's true.
it's fabulous. But you know what I mean? It's like you ask us about, it's not that hard to actually get.
What do you think about the impact of, I have to be honest, mostly American media depictions, like in television programs and films and stuff like that, of ADHD and people with ADHD selling their medication so other kids can study and everything? I frankly think that has done an enormous disservice and
you know what?
has public perception.
I haven't had TV since '88, so I genuinely don't know.
Well, and every time, and it's not something, but every time this storyline comes up in any programs, that is the storyline, that is the trope, that a kid with ADHD, and they're always like, blah, 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 even when they're on medication, which is like,
actually, interesting point. So this is the third video we do. The first video, I was on meds. I was on long release meds, so I was still medicated when I was recording. The last time we spoke, I was not on meds, and this time I am on meds, but it's short release, and I've taken them this morning. So I'm basically in the calm down. Well, or I have calmed down. So this is just in case people want to see the effect of medication on, you know, sample size 1 anyway. So
and they've all been chaotic. So, you know, what do the meds actually do?
I had notes. It's not my fault if nobody makes me follow them. But do you want to get cracking with the?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to share graphs of some of the results, and Ash will talk us through them, and they will, you know, interpret the data. But the data, if I can't say so, is quite clear. So hopefully people will be able to follow along.
It is not very. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't need a lot. Yeah. Let's just get on with it.
Okay. I'm going to screen share.
You're going to screen share.
Fingers crossed this will work, because as I explained to Ash, it's not my forte.
Sorry.
Now. There we go.
Way.
I did it.
You did it.
No.
You have to use a make things big device.
Okay, hang on. I think that might be as big as it gets. Yeah.
You can't open it.
No.
If you open it. You can't open it.
No.
In which case, let me see. Hang on. If you stop screen sharing and I start screen sharing.
Okay. Hang on. Stop there. There you go.
Wait, so.
Yeah, because they just came to me as slides, so that's as big as they get, I'm afraid.
Post disable participant screen sharing.
Hang on.
I'm
going to pause the recording.
Recording. Yeah, so the first issue that people raised is that we're medicating these tiny children. When you think of the children, when they don't really need it, and it's sort of stifling that development, blah, 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 all this stuff. And so I wanted to ask whether when people actually notice their ADHD impacting, you know, causing them significant difficulties in their life, which is not just school, because it's also personal life, because if you forget to, you know, put your shoes on or whatever, like, you know, the chaos that can come with ADHD doesn't just affect children at school. I personally had problems at home way before I had them in school, because my elementary school teacher was Montessori trained, so I was doing well there, but at home not so much. But yeah, so if you look at the colors here, so these are all percentages out of nearly 500 people. 19.5 were affected under 6, so that's elementary school, or before elementary school, really, in most countries. Under 12, 37.7. So more than half of us are significantly affected before we're 12. So the whole issue of we're medicating children too early, and bear in mind, if you struggle in school, I mean, if you struggle at home, it's bad, obviously. If you struggle in school and those formative years, you end up falling behind, it becomes very, very hard to catch up, particularly if you have additional learning difficulties, which a lot of us do, or if you don't have adequate support to teach you how to learn with your ADHD, which you won't have unless you're diagnosed. So yeah, more than half of us have significant difficulties under 12. And another number that's interesting is the number of people that are affected over 25. And that ought to have been broken down more, but this is a mini survey, you know what I mean? Because there's increasing, I mean, obviously ADHD meds not being used for that long, really, particularly you know, with large numbers of patients, but we're now discovering that a lot of women and people who undergo menopause struggle a lot more, and the medication may or may not have the same effect when your hormones start, you know.
That's exactly it. The drop in estrogen causes, and because we only get diagnosed when we're struggling, and all of a sudden it's something. Yeah.
I mean, but also like over 25 could mean just somebody who's, you know, 35, has got kids, and the kids went to school, and the kids are young enough to get diagnosed now, but the parents are too old to have been diagnosed back then. I mean, nobody in my generation was diagnosed because they just didn't do it, you know. So everybody I know has been diagnosed either because a friend has and won't shut up about it, that's me, or because their kids were diagnosed. So, but anyway, so we can see here, but anyway, more than half of us are already struggling significantly by the age of 12. Next slide. It's the pattern looks a bit different here, doesn't it? Because if you look at
interesting,
in it, so we're saying that we're diagnosing people too early. Well, actually, nearly 70% of us are diagnosed over 25. Now, that's I chose that number as well because that's the number when most people leave education if they haven't left it a lot before then. So we're diagnosed well after we finish school. So we've gone through the whole process of education with undiagnosed ADHD, no support.
And also there's that thing of, if you're not diagnosed, you're not going to get medication. So how can we be over medicating kids?
And but
people
also
aren't.
Even if you forget about the meds, if you completely scrap meds, how can you get support when your brain works different if you don't know and nobody around you know or wants to admit it or is able to provide any kind of help? So the whole we're overdiagnosing kids here, it's kind of that puts it doesn't look right, doesn't it? But anything else you want to add to this?
No, I just think that this isn't shocking to ADHDers. This isn't information that, like, from the point of view of, say, Neuro Pride, this would bear out in people's lived experience.
Yes.
As you said, but all these, if you listened to the so-called experts, this is not what they're telling you, and the myths that people say and the perceptions that people have. But
I don't even know where the perceptions come from, to be honest, at this point. But I think it's like media more than anything else. But anyway, let's trot on to the next one. So this is the next question is slightly different because this is about when you get meds. And if you look, I mean, see the slice under 6 is too small to even get a bloody number written on it. Because so, but it's less. So we have people that have been diagnosed, but they didn't get given the meds, which is fine. Again, it's fine. It's one way of handling it, and not everybody can be on meds anyway. But so 70% of us never touch meds until we're over 25. So the whole thing of handing, was it children clown at the kids' party,
sweets, blah blah blah,
maybe it's not. It's probably not something I'm going to lose a lot of sleep over personally. You know, but I'm sure somebody will somewhere. Anywho, anything else on this? My yellow?
No, I think you explained.
Next, so this is looking at the dose. So this is dosage of your meds. This is how much of the good stuff, you know, all this stuff that we're craving so much. how much of it would you like to be prescribed? So is it the minimum that enables you to meet your life's demands, which are variable? And again, it's like my demands when I was 3, or when I was 6, and when I was 16 and 26, and it varies with your, depends on your life, depends on, do you have a family? Have you got support? There's all sorts of things. But anyway, do people want the minimum to meet their life's demands? Do people want the minimum that enables them to function like a neurotypical person? Do people want the maximum they can tolerate without serious side effects? Do people want whatever the doctor thinks is right, or are people not sure? And if we look at this pretty graph again, most people want the minimum that enables them to meet their life's demands. So we're not aspiring to, 30% of us would like to be able to function like a neurotypical person. I'm not going to comment on that. It's like, I don't. But
each to their own.
Each to their own. It's like I met some neurotypical people, I'm sure of it, and they were fine. But I wouldn't like to be one.
They were lovely. Some of my best friends are nurses.
Yeah, I know. I think I know at least one neurotypical person. So yeah,
I'm not sure I do anymore. But yeah.
I know now am I actually. But anyway, so again, when you're looking at this, all of these ADHD or craving or craving drugs, so much. People crave drugs, don't want to get the minimum. It's not, there's not people, people smoke cigarettes, don't go, I really like to smoke as little as possible.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like I've known people who've self-gate-kept around medication.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, that fear of, well, because of the stigma, because of this, they're withholding it. And then when they get to a point where they can't cope and they, I suppose, give in or cave in or whatever, or admit, actually, I do need support and help with this, they're like, oh my God, why didn't they do this sooner?
Yeah,
full disclosure, I'm not on ADHD medication, and I have never taken ADHD medication.
I was strongly against it for the longest time when I worked out I was an ADHD or like super, because I really, really enjoy my brain, and I don't
that's exactly
beige. And then I was like, and then lockdown happened and I just couldn't do anything because there was, loss of structure. I had nothing to do. So I was just sort of vegetating. And I thought, sorry, I'm going to try this stuff. And I went through, the 7 the stages of grief, but mostly anger, because it was like, everything is so easy. And I know a lot of people I was stuck on anger for a long time, because it's like, was it supposed to be this easy all along?
That's exactly it. Now, I would like to try ADHD medication. Access to.
Yeah, it's not. Well, no, wait. I hear they just hand them out like candy.
Yep, I'm obviously going to the wrong circuses. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. You need to find a better client.
I need to find a better client.
Yeah. Shall we go to the next one?
I think so.
Yeah, so this is looking at the dosage of your meds. Now, what do your doctors aim to prescribe? Which is different. This is different. We're not looking, it's not because I've had, mind you, I've been prescribed meds 3 times. I've had 3 completely different experiences. But if we look at it, there was 38% as opposed to 42%. So less doctors are willing to prescribe the minimum. Also, less doctors are willing to prescribe the minimum to be able to function like a neurotypical person. And 16, there's less are willing to prescribe the maximum. And I was quite pleasantly surprised, actually, because 16.7 willing to prescribe whatever the person thought was right is a lot better than I thought. Because I had serious problems getting meds because I wanted a lot less meds than they wanted. I wanted an intermittent treatment. I wanted basically to be able to take them on the days when I needed a certain type of brain. Like I put my glasses on when I need to read. I don't have them on all the time because I'll be walking into walls, And my first doctor was very much for it. And my second one was absolutely not. You have to take them all the time. You have to build tolerance. You have to take, I was on 25 milligrams and she wanted me to be on a minimum 55 because I have to be regulated. I'm a writer. I don't want to But so I thought I was quite pleasantly surprised with this, because there's a lot more doctors willing to listen to their patients than I thought. 12% not sure is a bit depressing, because so we're having people handing out this medication and 12% of us don't know what the doctors were actually aiming for, which
that's not great.
That's not great, but this is actually honestly a lot better than I thought. Basically, we want less drugs than the doctor is wanting us to take. So that's already saying something here. Shall we crack on?
Yep.
Crack on. 6, looking at the type of meds. So there's different kinds of ADHD meds, but the main difference is stimulant, non-stimulant, and then you can have instant versus extended release. So the extended release, you take one in the morning and it keeps going all day long. And the instant you have to take 2-3 times during the day, depending on how quickly they wear off for you. So do you believe you have been prescribed the ADHD meds that best meet your needs? And 4 was yes, and it was easy. 37% of us, yes, but it took a while. And then a smaller number, yes, but it was hard. And then if you look at sort of the green to pink, it's people who don't think they're on the right meds, which is not great. I mean, it's only a small slice, and I haven't got the actual. I'll give you I'll send you a spreadsheet with the actual numbers. I just, it doesn't go well on video, I don't think, great big walls of numbers, but if anybody wants to check them out, it's quite depressing that there is a bunch of people who are
cohort there that are,
don't
think they are or have given up.
Yeah. So and it's depressing. Like it's a considerable chunk there that where they don't think the doctors try. So that's not fantastic.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, it's about 7% overall. So not great, but again, I think a lot of it is it's so hard to actually get them. When I got them, I wasn't going to argue with the doctor about it too much.
Yeah,
because you don't want to risk being taken off them.
There's so few psychiatrists here in Ireland that will prescribe that people are really don't have any choice. They don't have any choice. At one point,
you had like 1 in the whole of Ireland. It was insane.
Yeah, there was, I think it was 3 or 4 that would, and 3 of them closed their books. So there was only 1 that was.
Because when I was writing the Going Official book, people were like, "What do you do if you're in Ireland?" I'm like, I can't help. If you have no doctors that'll do it, I can't help. I can't. There's nothing I can do with that.
No,
it's
So I think there's been a little change in they've rolled out these ADHD kind of centers for adult diagnosis, but they're not all over the country. Like where I am, the southeast, there's no coverage at all. There is
to be honest, I would not have got I went private for my first diagnosis, and I would not have been able to do it if it hadn't been for a lockdown, because the additional cost, it cost me enough to get diagnosed, but the additional cost of dragging my ass to wherever it was that I would have been, would have had to go to get diagnosed, and paying, I've got dogs, so it's losing work, whatever. So it would have about double my costs. Really. When you take it all in. So I was quite happy to do it over Zoom. But hey ho. Anyway, next.
Look at us getting distracted. What a stereotype.
Yeah, whoa, fancy that. ADHD. Oh, that was not supposed to look like that. I thought it fell in.
I don't know actually.
You live. Anyway, so at the time when you were prescribed ADHD meds, were you offered any non-medication therapy options to help you manage the way in which ADHD negatively affects your life? So one of the things that winds me up is that people don't want their children to have ADHD diagnosis because all you get is meds, and people don't believe that ADHD exists because it's just a way to get meds. But then we are not actually offered any alternative treatments a lot of the time.
That's exactly it.
So,
and all of these things have been proven to help, and yet we are having to access them through community and helping each other out and saying, "Oh, have you tried this? Have you tried that?"
Yeah, but I think it's a bit bloody ridiculous that you have a situation where it's like, "Oh, we don't want to diagnose you with this because all we are willing to do is give you meds about it," and you're like, "But how about you actually, try something else?" So yeah, if you look at it, so these are these are not percentages, these are actually numbers of people. So the scales are, bear in mind that the scales are a bit different. But basically, the bottom line is that most of us don't get tiddly squat with our diagnosis. So that's not, it's not really our fault if all we have to rely on is the meds, I would say. Sorry about the graph looking untidy. Anyway,
I'll never forgive you, but we'll move on. Let's move on.
Does you want to? Is there anything? Oh, I've just picked these things because these are things that affect a lot of us.
People struggle with. Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I think around, for example, the emotional self-regulation.
Yeah,
people don't get told about the impact of interoception issues. They don't get told about alexithymia. They don't get told about all these things that actually actively impact on you. If you don't have those words, how are you going to get supported?
Yeah, and also when you don't look at comorbidities or co-occurring conditions, I have postprandial hypoglycemia. If I am in the middle of a hypoglycemic crisis, I cannot emotionally self-regulate because my body is not operating properly because I am, and it's the same. It's not the same as if I had diabetes, but hypoglycemia, you have problems with emotional self-regulation because your body's broken, your body's not working right. So if you have a kid in school, which, they can't eat when they need to eat, and everything is set at certain times, and you're expecting them to self-regulate when it's something physiological rather than emotional, how's that going to work? But anyway, so it looks like this is appalling. Anything else, I mean, it's a bit better on the emotional self-reg, and I wonder if the anxiety relaxation skills is people going around, but have you tried yoga?
I go for a nice walk. I think probably a lot of people are first diagnosed with anxiety later on in life, and so they're already accessing that. So it may not be that they're offered that because the ADHD diagnosis, they might already be on medication.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is, funny enough, we will look into that at a later stage. Don't spoilers. All right, next. So like, if you look at this graph before, slightly different outlook here. So basically, we all want support with all these things. So again, this is us wanting stuff that isn't meds. Or not we all want, but a lot of us want it. I was surprised at how social skills is not that popular. And I wonder, well, I suppose, I don't know. But
well, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have any interest in learning neurotypical social skills. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why people were like, well, no, I don't want to learn.
Yeah. Fair enough. But anyway, so if you look, so again, the whole stigma that all, people want a diagnosis so they can get the meds, it doesn't, not really proven here, is it? Sorry, I need to not just make random noises.
It's very scientific.
Yeah, anyway, shall we go on? So we'll plunge on forward.
I think so.
Cool. So at the time when you were prescribed ADHD meds, were you offered any other medication to manage issue commonly co-occurring with ADHD, which now goes into what you were saying? Because if you look at the number of people, there's a not insignificant number of people were on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds. So, that's the thing. So was, was there anxiety and depression related to the ADHD? Was it a self-standing issue? For me, definitely it wasn't. It was the ADHD caused me anxiety, or the ableism that I suffered because of the ADHD caused me anxiety. But the sleep meds thing just drives me absolutely bonkers. I think everybody's heard me ranting about sleep. 70% of ADHDers and 80% of autistics have a sleep disorder. Most of these sleep disorders are circadian sleep disorders, which do not go away with you willing yourself to sleep. There is a very simple treatment which can reduce not only your sleep problems, but also a whole host of problems that you get when you are sleep deprived long term. which include like really serious problems like some cancers, cognitive decline. If you're a child, your brain doesn't grow right. You obviously you're going through your life exhausted or jet lagged, which is not a good way to be. So I will not understand, and I continue not understanding why they don't. I'm not saying try the sleep meds instead, but at least as well as, and at least do a sleep study, because I don't recall ever sleeping through the night ever, or through the day for that matter, or sleeping much. And I don't understand how that's not a thing, but yeah. On the plus side, nobody's trying to give us a lot of ADHD dietary supplements, because obviously all ADHDers eat the same food.
You're only allowed.
We all eat the same food. We all do the same amount of exercise. We're all the same size and shape. So obviously there must be some.
Well, we're all young boys. So.
Obviously, yeah. But so the whole dietary supplements for ADHD. I'm not saying that ADHDers don't need dietary supplements, because personally, like, my diet is absolutely trash on wheels, because I have a limited amount of executive function, and I don't put it towards cooking. But that's me. But to have ADHD supplements that are supposed to fit the whole of the community is just not a thing. So, but at least that's not happening. So that's a good thing. But something. So anywho. I'm going to go on, because otherwise I'll start ranting again. So this is where we're looking about, addiction, because we're all addicts. Do you take your ADHD meds consistently? Which to me, consistently is following the schedule provided by a doctor, because not everybody takes them every day. And less than half of us do. So, although, there's a good number of people that take them often. So, But so next, or do you want to?
No, you fire away.
Yeah. So do you find it easier to remember to take your ADHD meds? And 19.3% of us always find it easy. I want to know how do they do it? Because
this is voodoo.
Because I forget to take them, and I think I also forget whether I have taken them. And then it's like, do I want to double dose, or do I want to go without? And when I was on the extended release, if I missed my window, I then couldn't take them because they ran on too late, and then I couldn't sleep. So I was missing more days than, So again, I don't know of any heroin addicts that just go, crap, I forgot to do, forgot my fix. I just forgot mine. Next, do you skip doses before you forgot to take your meds? And this is 22% of us never do. I want to know how do you do it? Somebody get in touch.
Maybe they're the autistic ADHDers.
Could be, because I've tried a number of hacks, and so again, this doesn't look, it's not as many of us sort of failing appallingly. It's only less than a quarter of us often or always skipping doses, but not great. So, and do you take ADHD med holidays? So this is where people just take med breaks, not because they've forgotten, but literally they don't take them at the weekends, or they don't take them if they're on holiday. And it's specifically part of the reason is to avoid building up the tolerance, so you then have to take higher doses.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do it. Yeah,
I know a lot of people who do it. Yeah, and but the thing that I find interesting is that some doctors specifically tell you to do it, and some doctors specifically tell you not to do it. And it's potluck. It depends on the doctor you get, what advice you get. So we got 41.9% of us that don't take breaks because the doctors told them not to, which is interesting. And then a small slice, which I should have a number for, and I don't. They don't take breaks, even though the doctors told them to, which is completely different. Then 24.3 take breaks, even though the doctors told them not to. So this is people who've got the meds, it's there, it's in their house, and they choose not to take it, even though the doctors want them to. Again, not necessarily the behavior of somebody who's addicted to something.
Exactly.
And then 28% of us are taking breaks because the doctor told them to. So I find this interesting. If you go, because the green and the blue is the number of is the doctors telling you to take breaks.
Orders, yeah.
No, sorry. Take breaks. Follow me. No, the green and I'm so confused now. I confused myself. Sorry. No, take breaks. Yes, take breaks. Yes, take breaks. Despite other.
The green and the blue are doctor's orders. So whether they're taking breaks or not taking breaks, they're following
doctor's orders. Yeah. Okay. So which ones are? Yeah. So there's it. Now I wanted to find out how many doctors are actually telling you to take breaks compared to not. Anyway, most of us are quite good, but nearly 25% of us are taking meds less days than they can. Than they could.
Yeah. Then they'd be given doctor's permission to. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Is there anything else we want to?
No.
Right. Next. So this is a lot. I wanted to cover this because the diagnostic criteria for ADHD are absolute trash because they're basically not the traits necessarily that affect us the most. So because we're not all 10-year-old boys in school.
And because
we're
trying to diagnose a different neurotype by observable behavior, and you don't even know what you're looking at.
Yes, and also I'm going to diagnose your neurotype based on how much you bug me rather than
how much does your behavior annoy everybody around you, not how much does being ADHD affect you.
But also, like I didn't really know what to expect from taking meds, and I was quite surprised at how it affected me. The bits where it helped and the bits where it didn't. But anyway, so fidgeting. So
don't know what you're talking about.
No, it's not. I was born in Italy, so it's all right.
I have on more than one occasion had Italian people come up and talk to me in Italian because
it's classic. Yeah. It's classic. But basically, if you look at the blue is the good stuff, and the main improvements are in the ability to start task, to keep on task, to finish tasks, so we can actually get shit done. Excuse my French. Which is not, interesting enough, it's not part of the diagnostic criteria of ADHD at all.
And that is the thing that most people I know talk about. Yes. That's the not being able to start tasks, not being able to stay on track, side quests. Yeah. Ability to finish starting multiple projects, not finishing.
I can't start it because it's too hard, and I can't finish it because it's too easy.
Yeah. And I can't do the main quest. So I'm going to go off and do all these side quests.
Yeah. Which is why,
that's the thing that most people will talk about being the hardest thing to cope with.
But it's not part of the diagnostic criteria, so it clearly doesn't exist. But thankfully, that helps do meds with it, that help with it. Anyway, so the things that get worse, that was a very small number of these things actually get worse, but social skills, emotional dysregulation, and again, it's very small numbers. I mean, you can look at the comparative size of the bars. Task switching, I personally have problems with task switching when I'm on meds. So if it's fine if I get into the right task, but if I get into the wrong one, then I'm a bit stuffed because it's a bit like, finish it now,
I think for me, they see the part around social skills and they make it worse, not sure, blah, blah, blah. And no, I think it might stop people masking as much.
The main change I noticed from when I started taking meds was that customers that I work with for years, and I'm talking like 9 plus 10 years, they asked me my name. They had never cared to know my name before. And suddenly they were asking me, like, not one or two, like a considerable number of them. Because I don't know. I know I get a bit of a motor mouth, particularly on my old set of meds. but I think I'm more engaged. I don't have to rehearse conversations. I think because normally I would be thinking about 85 different ways the conversation could go, and then probably being a bit like withdrawn from the conversation because I'm engineering all this
other thing. Yeah,
I'm not winging it. So somebody, I don't know. They are all normies. I don't know what they saw in me at that point, but people like me better on meds than off. Well, normies do. I don't know about anybody else. That was interesting for me. I have no valid explanation for it. My eye contact might be better. I don't know. I'm still not actually touching eyeballs with them. I pretend, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a thing. It was
maybe you're more palatable.
Well, yeah, but why? I mean, it's not like I want to encourage that. I mean,
no.
But it was interesting. And I do wonder, again, I started taking meds when I was 46. What would it have been like if I had taken them in school? Outside of the academic performance side of things.
Yeah.
But anyway, but meds, they help us with quite a bunch of stuff and not as advertised necessarily. Have we covered this? Is there anything you want to?
Nope, you far away.
Next. Well, so overall, do your ADHD meds make life better? Now, one of the things we never address, or that doesn't get addressed rather, when talking about the impact of meds, is that ADHDers are, because we are not 3-year-old boys, we don't exist in isolation. We don't just have work and school. We have families. We might have children. We might have dogs, whatever, parrots. So we sometimes want to be better for the people around us. It's not just about us. And I find it interesting how that never gets mentioned. How because if you talk to ADHDers, a lot of them quite like the fact that they're a better partner, housemates, parents. They feel more competent to take care of the people around them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like a thing. And but anyway, so this is the number of people that basically it's not just about us. That's all I can say. So if we benefit the most, but it's not just there are people around us. And it's not just your boss, it's not just your teacher, it's the people you have responsibilities towards. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine, forgetting to pick a kid up from school, but I know I could, I'm not in a position to do that because I don't have a kid to pick up from school, but I've forgotten things that are equally as important to me, because of how my brain works. And I can't imagine,
that myth of if it was important you wouldn't forget, and you're like, it's not how this works. That's not how any of it works.
No, it isn't. And it's just like, and I can't, and the feeling of I can't deal with my life and I can't scale it down, and there are people who depend upon me to manage things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yes, that's why I asked the question anyway. And yes, for a considerable chunk of us, it's not, meds make things better for everybody around us, and the closer they are, the better they, the more they benefit. So anything else? No? Yep. Next. Wait, so this is about, again, looking at a lot of, after being prescribed ADHD meds, have you been able to cut down on the use of other medications? And there's a lot of people particularly adults, only get assessed for ADHD when they've been assessed for mental health conditions, sometimes not by people who are experts in mental health conditions, and sometimes have been given medications to try, again, by people who are not competent necessarily to really dish them out, but do, and particularly anti-anxiety and antidepressant meds, because medical experts don't necessarily ask the question of why are you anxious, why are you depressed, and if you could be anxious or depressed because you're struggling to manage your life. And putting you on antidepressants when you're depressed about real things, it's not like your brain is out of whack chemically. It's like you're having a genuine real life problem that you can't deal with because you just can't, it's pretty depressing and it makes you anxious, you know. So if we look here, it's not huge numbers, but it's quite a significant number of us, like a fifth of us have been able to cut down on antidepressants, and not quite a fifth, but still have been able to cut down on anti-anxiety meds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not a fifth. Oh, this is a fifth of the people who were taking them, which is, you know, it's nearly half of the people who were taking them have been able to cut down on antidepressants, which are also addictive substances with side effects, and so are anti-anxiety meds. Pain management a bit less, but again, you know, some of us have been able to cut down on pain management meds, which are also addictive and have side effects. And if you look at the self-prescribed, so we're looking at people helping themselves to illegal drugs or over the counter, but not necessarily taken according to, you know, how you should. Quite a lot of us have, you know, been able to kick out their medication, you know. So when you look at the fact that, you know, ADHD meds are addictive and have side effects, but what do they replace? So yeah, so that's the thing. Anything, and also there's the other thing that there is a myth, because ADHD, untreated ADHD, does correlate quite. You have a higher risk of self-medicating and then engaging. You know, if you're buying drugs on the street, you're not necessarily getting the stuff that does your brain any good, and also you might engage in.
Well, there's research from every country practically about the overrepresentation of
ADHD
people with ADHD in the prison service, in homeless services, and blah blah blah, because addiction problem.
Also in the adoption and fostering.
Yeah.
They are able
I work in services, and I see it a lot.
It's quite interesting. It's also horrific, but they're now doing a lot of studies on. They're able to do familial studies on ADHD because so many children with ADHD from parents with ADHD end up adopted. So they can actually look at the nature nurture thing, because they're obviously being taken away from your family, which is absolutely depressing, really. But and again, this goes back to the, you know, are the meds just for you, or are the meds for everybody around you? But
right.
anyway, so
well, I am aware that we are running out of time, so we better scooch through the last.
So there's 2 questions missing, but that's because I was looking at pros and cons. But hey, if you can meet, this is a crunch really. If you can meet the normal demands on your life without taking your meds, would you still take them? And 49.4% of us wouldn't. So considering the fact that meds also do have, they do have an impact on how you feel, because they do jiggle about your dopamine levels. So they do make you feel better, not like elated, but you know, you'd rather be without. And of the people who wouldn't rather be without, 31.6 don't, you know, they're not sure. So they, you know, so there's only 19% of us that would still take them. So again, addiction. Next. Sorry, I'm gonna cough at you. And now I asked this question because what gender were you assigned at birth? Because gender has a significant impact on your age of diagnosis, your age of prescription, and generally how you're treated. I'm gonna cough again. And basically, I did do a quick breakdown of the data earlier. Boys, 15% of boys were diagnosed under 12. Only 7% female. So you're twice as likely. I'm gonna die. Sorry. Can you talk for a bit?
So yeah, I find this very interesting, because as I said, in Neuro Pride, this data definitely, and I know that it might be skewed by the fact that more female or female presented people are likely to answer surveys or be involved in Facebook groups and see the survey, but it puts pay to that lie about it just being for boys, that ADHD is a thing that predominantly affects boys. you know.
But if you look at the statistics for when we get diagnosed, and again, bear in mind the impact of meds at a young age, because yes, they do affect how your brain develops, but they also make you able to engage with academia.
Mm-hmm.
They make you able to. It's about creating habits. It's learning. It's the foundation. So if you miss the first 6 years, it's bad. If you miss the first 12 years, it's the later you're diagnosed, the worse off you'll be in many respects, because you just haven't been able to keep up with your peers. And it becomes, you know, how are you going to catch up? You know, if you didn't learn your ABCs when you're
and I think that's where this frankly nonsense about ADHDers having regressed emotional intelligence and being like a 15-year-old having, you know, being the emotional level of a 10-year-old, that nonsense comes from this. It's like, no, an unsupported person who is struggling to access the same education, the same life chances, that has nothing to do with us naturally having, you know, this. It's unsupported. They were unsupported to reach their potential.
And like for instance, it's saying in school, because it's not even about achievement, it's about the amount of effort that goes. If you spend 10 hours a week on your homework, you have so much time to spend on other things. If you have to spend 40 hours a week on your homework, the rest of your life disappears. Mm-hmm. And that has an impact, because you can't develop socially if you have no social life, because you don't have a chance to social, you know, it just.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's all a bit of a mess.
But so the two questions we missed, basically I asked question what they like the most and what they like the least. And it's not something you can quantify, but the thing they like the least is how hard it is to get the meds, particularly with regards to you can only get them once. You have to get them once a month, rather. You don't get prescription that run longer than a month's worth, which is because obviously if you if you want to sell them on the streets, you couldn't possibly do so one. But I don't even know the logic. There is no logic. It makes no sense. But you have to have the executive function to get the meds in order to get the meds, but you can't get it if you don't have the meds. And for the thing we dislike the most, it was side effects, which is a lot of them. So it's not. It doesn't appear that we get all these funsies, all this hey type feeling from it, and having to take meds.
Yeah,
like literally that was what do you like the least about your meds, having to take them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a necessity. It's not a luxury or a, as you said, it's not recreational. It's not no more than taking insulin is recreational, no more than taking an antidepressant is recreational. Yeah.
And I have no doubts whatsoever. One of the things, talking to people for the second edition of the book, was that there is a problem, particularly in colleges, where if you go public, there's this stigma about meds, but if you say that you're taking meds, a lot of people had their meds stolen, particularly at critical times of the academic year. So they ended up getting into their finals and they couldn't get the script refilled because of nonsense.
Yeah.
So, there absolutely is an issue with people using amphetamines for shit and giggles, basically. But not us, because they don't do that for us.
They don't do it. Ash,
it's done.
I am very conscious that we're running out of time. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Me overrunning.
Ridiculous. Couldn't happen. Completely off brand. So yeah, I just really wanted to say thank you so much for running this survey. It may be surprising to other people. It's not particularly surprising. As I said, it ties in very much with the lived experience of members of our community and conversations that we would have about this. But I do really appreciate you taking the time, because as you said, it is a huge response. We obviously want to talk about this and want to let the world know that this, to combat the stigma and the frankly nonsense that we have to deal with around this issue. So yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And look at us. we actually got through it and weren't as chaotic as we normally are. So.
I like your top. I just noticed your top has got owls in it.
Owls, yeah.
Oh, they're pretty.
Aren't they cute?
Oh, it's very nice.
Our
Sorry.
sibling, they love owls, and I had originally bought this dress for them, but yeah, that didn't happen. So anyway,
I want.
if I see another one, I'll pick you one up.
All right. So
Okay.
yeah, let's see what I get annoyed about next year then.
We are always here for a rant. We are always here for one year rant. So great. Thank you so much. And